Christ,
So-
and last time you bullied Baby Spice.
yeah. I mean, I'm in a bad role right now.
I like it.
Okay, so we're back with a new episode of Bad Movies and Swedish Opinions. Isn't that great?
Oh yeah, it's the best.
Gives us the opportunity to watch some really good movies, right?
That has never happened on this podcast, I think.
You might be right on that one. And to speak of bad movies, oh wait, I'm just going to give you an anecdote or fun fact. Yesterday, after I saw this movie, I came of thinking of Dawson's Creek, and I wanted to see if there was some sort of joke where I could, reference to Assassin's Creed. But after spending an unreasonable amount of time of this, I realized that no, there's no joke there.
Great.
Yeah, sucks to be
And-
you.
And to answer your two questions, the first one, yes, this was an unnecessary fun fact, and two, you won't get that time back in your life. So now you know how it feels to be us.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So we have been watching a movie called Assassin's Creed. And is this something that are based on something? I ask very fast.
Of course, it's a long standing series from Ubisoft with about 13 games, I think now. They also release one a year. So
13 games? That's quite impressive. I only thought it was like 3 or something.
no, they pump one out every year basically.
Is this the same lore, or does it expand, or?
Well, since most of the games they take place in like memories of other people, they jump from time or different times. So like in one games it's like Venice or Italy in the 1500s, then one is Jerusalem in the 1100s, and
Okay, but it's the same story, but they can just pump it up under different time sequences. Okay.
yeah, basically it's one overarching story, but it's not very deep. Like it's very surface level because they don't really connect to each other, all the games, but it's like one thing, or like the memories that bind everything together. But it's very loose, I would say.
Mm-hmm. You can understand that the movie business wants to gain some sort of what should you say, money from this franchise, and try to create some sort of Marvel universe regarding this. So, and if there's 13 games, I can imagine that someone is sitting somewhere thinking, okay, let's make at least 13 movies. But based on today's movie that we're going to talk about, I'm not sure that's going to happen.
No.
Yeah.
So, Adam, what is this movie about?
Short version, it's about assassins fighting Templars and the Apple of Eden.
Yeah, so, but who are the Templars?
Okay, so I haven't really played the games either, but in this movie, from what I gather, the Templars are like this order that want to get the Apple of Eden, and they want to do it because then they can control the free will of people. And the assassins, they are an order that they try to protect this apple from them, because the Templars kinda want to be dictators and control people's free will, while the assassins, they just want to safekeep the apple because they think that people should have their free will. So it's pretty much about their conflict.
Yeah, the Templars basically want to control people, and the Assassin's Creed wants to keep the free will alive. So that's nice.
From the games, it's basically a secret society of people that's been present in the world ever since like the 1100s. And they have infiltrated basically all big powers like religion and consumerism and countries and stuff, like royals and stuff.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
This movie was released in the year 2016, and the director's name is Justin Kurzel. The screenplay is by Michael Lesslie, Adam Cooper, and a guy named Bill College. Not sure he went to college based on this script. Yeah, that was a really low blow. I'm sorry, Bill.
Christ, and last time you bullied Baby Spice.
Yeah, I'm in a bad role right now.
I like it.
Yeah, we have three characters basically. That's this story is all about. At least three people that's getting the most, what should you say, screen time. But there's a lot of cameos from different guys. But the biggest character here is also played by one of our biggest actors, Michael Fassbender, and he plays a character called Cal. And I gotta say, when I was about to start this movie and I read in the description that Michael Fassbender was in the lead role, I thought, okay, this might be good. This might be interesting. So I actually went into this movie with a pretty good feeling right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this Cal character, who is he, Ruben?
Well, he is a long-lost descendant of an assassin from the Assassin Order, basically. And he doesn't know it at the start of the movie. Because it's a very secretive business, I guess. Because if they are found out, basically the Templars are going to kill them. So
yeah. So if we're going to start off with him, we are introduced, of course, very fast to this character, or at least as him as a kid. Mm-hmm. The movie starts out with him doing some, I don't know what you call it, parkour with a bike. Sounds like the dumbest idea ever. He tries to make a jump and he, hit the edge and falls off and lands on some mattresses. And when I saw this, I thought that was very lucky for him. For I'm pretty sure that if he were to stick his landing, he would have died there. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, maybe.
After this accident, he goes back to his house, and you can see that his mother has been killed by his father, who is wearing some sort of hoodie to implicate that he's a part of the Assassin's Creed, of course. Everybody gets that. The father tells him to get the F out of the house, and as he phrases it, live in the shadows, hide for people. And then some sort of government people show up, and as I assume, they kind of pick up his father and brings him to a facility. Yada yada yada. Pretty simple. Fast forward 30 years, and you know what? He is 30 years older at this point. That's good, right? That's logic.
Yeah, and I guess it's good for him that he survived that long.
Yeah, you don't get any information at all during this time what he's doing more than that you are jumped into a scene where he is in jail and is about to be sentenced to death. Or actually, they're about to do the procedure, actually, and to kill him.
Yeah.
Of course, there is our second character, and that is some girl who, during the movie, says that she is a scientist. I think around 7 times, which is basically her own quality. She's a scientist, and she's a part of this Templar thing, but she's not that, what should you say, religious in that sense. She's more interesting of the science fact than the mission of finding the apple that's going to be the plot of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
She saves this guy, at least, Cal, and brings him to an underground facility. And I'm going to correct myself there, because this is not an underground facility. This facility is very much above ground. It's actually a very tall building. But it's, what should you say, not that well hidden of a facility, but it's a private organization that no one is supposed to be aware of. Am I right?
It looks like a big prison, basically.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good explanation. It's basically a prison. There's a lot of weird stuff going on there that doesn't make sense, and we're going to talk about that later. However, Sophia is telling Cal that you are a descendant of a murderer or an Assassin's Creed back in the days, on the medieval times, and that totally makes sense, right? And he's like, yeah, whatever, sure, I don't care. He doesn't care about much at this point in the movie.
He really doesn't care throughout the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was about to say, yeah. Sophia, she is a very bland character. What do you think about Sophia? What is her deal, really?
Well, you summarized pretty well before that she's the scientist, and that's really her only quality.
Yeah, because it's really strange that you only have 3 characters, but the 2 of them is not really doing anything. It is basically just being some sort of, I don't know, let's push the story forward with the help of those 2.
We can say she is the daughter of, what's his name? Rickon. And he is one of the top guys of the Templars, basically. And,
right. So it's good that you bring him up. So let's talk a little bit about him. Mm-hmm. Rickon is, as you said, the head of Templar Embassy. And he really wants to have this apple of Eden to be able to, as you described before, control people's free will. They are marketing it as, getting rid of violence and stuff, but this is really about controlling people. Everybody knows that.
Yep.
Yeah, but Sophia, she really believes that first, that sure, we should get rid of the violence and make peace in the world and whatnot. But the one thing I don't understand about this is, even though you can get rid of violence and think that's a good thing, you're also getting rid of everything else. It's not like only the violence. You're getting rid of everything. Like, how can you be behind that as a scientist as she is during this movie? Yeah. I don't think that makes sense for her as a character to believe that, okay, we're getting rid of the violence and it's that good, but, we're taking away the rest of the things too. I think that for this to make sense, she should only have gotten information that we're getting rid of the violence, but otherwise people can go on as normal.
And one thing I don't get is that, like, the Templars, she explains that they are the good guys because the assassins are the bad ones who murder people. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you go back in time, you see that the Templars are burning people alive. Or trying to burn people alive on stakes and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they work that logic in, but...
Yeah, if you look at the past, the Templars were real douchebags all the time when you see them.
Yeah. Both sides are killing people based on different ideas, but there's no good and bad here. The Templars are the worst one in this scenario, but the one feeds the other.
Mm.
So how are they going to get this apple of Eden then, Adam?
Well, so they have a really good plan that they have this device that, what was it called?
Unamis?
animus.
The animals. Yeah. So they have that in their facility, and Cal is the descendant of this assassin that lived like in the 1492. Yeah. So they're gonna use the animals because apparently it allows him to relive his past self as this assassin. It allows the scientist to see what he's doing in that past life, kind of like watching a TV show or something. And they are gonna see through his eyes back in 1492 to see where the apple ended up, so they know what to search for it now.
Yeah, because his ancestor is the last known person to have the apple in his possession.
Yeah. Which is very lucky.
Uh-huh.
I never got that really, that if they were able to see what he saw or not, or if they just got like an indication of what was going on.
Well, I exaggerate a bit with TV screen. I don't think it was that clear, but they were able to see roughly, it seems, what he was doing.
Yeah, the thing is, this is like the biggest difference from the games, because in the games, the main character is put in like small, basically, that like just covers his body and then it shuts, and he's connected to the animus in that way. It's not like a big robot arm connected to his waist and he's jumping around. That's not at all what happens in the games.
Is he like moving around when he's stuck there in the game?
No. The game, his mind is connected to this machine, and he is like fastened with belts and stuff inside this machine, and they see his memories. He relives his memories, and the other people in the games can see that on like screens because they follow his mind on screens in that way. So that's a really big difference. I don't see. I get that they wanted the big robot arm to make that more interesting for them to just see him do this stuff and not just look at a screen. But it's really, really weird to me.
Yeah, but I don't get that. I don't get why we need to see him move around with that thing on his back.
Because I guess they thought it was cool.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The problem here starts already. I mean, it's been a problem like earlier in the movie, but it really starts here too, because they want to use Fassbender and show off his. I don't know if they want to show off his body or whatever it's about, but they want for some reason for him to be able to move with this robot stuck to him and do some sequences with him, and then they kind of connect that with the fighting scenes going on in the past, if you may. So the scenes are kind of merged together, and this ruins for me the illusion. And I didn't think it was cool at all to see him move around. All I could think of was, okay, what happens when you run in the past? Do you run on the same place? What happens if you sit on a horse? Do you like spread your legs or whatever? What happens if you like jump from something? Does the robot arm pick you up and then drop you again? Or how does it work? Because it didn't make sense in my head when I was thinking about it. And I hate myself for thinking about it, because I try to disconnect that thinking in movies, but it bothers me. So for me to fix this, I just wanted them to, they give him the story of you need to find the apple and whatnot. And that could be in his story. Cal could have his whole story within this past, where he's moving around there, making connections with people, doing his parkour, do his fighting scenes, and living his life there, and getting to know his ancestors' life, and build his Assassin's Creed character there, and not just jumping back and forward as they're doing at this point. And then you could have the story with Sophia and Rickon talking about they're following him on a screen or whatever, and they're like focusing of maybe controlling him in some way, or pointing him in some direction, or having their own relationship problems or whatever. That could be their story if they want to pause from what's going on in the past. But as it is of now, they're kind of jumping back and forward. And in the past, you have Cal, and you have an accomplished that he has back in the past, and I don't even remember her name. And there was a situation where I guess we were supposed to feel bad for her, but I didn't, because she was just some sort of random. And I haven't even written her name or character in my sheet here because she doesn't even make sense. She doesn't even belong to the story in my head. So there's a lot of stuff going on that makes you forget about what's really important here, is to create a sort of depth in a movie. But they don't do it. They keep it very shallow. And it's like, as soon as it gets interesting in the past, they take him back to the present and, do some weird stuff there and having some sort of complications around that. Apparently, he can die if he is connected too long in a robot arm. Oh, that was unfortunately.
Mhm.
Yes, I'm just saying I'm a bit pissed about that. The whole robot scene, the whole robot thing, it really ruined the movie for me.
I agree, and I don't like either this jumping between the past and the present, because try as I might, I couldn't get into what happened in the past because I felt it didn't matter that so what? The girl got killed. So what? This was 600 years ago. She would be dead now anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Nope.
Yeah, that's also a good point. It's hard to create tension when you are supposed to care about stuff that happened way, way back. And, everything that we are seeing is basically just a replay of everything. Because there's no excitement there. Okay, we know that he's going to get away, or eventually being killed, or whatever. I mean, it's just for us to wait for that sequence to be over to find the apple so the movie can begin. That's basically it. But when they get the apple, the movie's already over.
Yeah, that's the thing. That it was never intention, because we always knew that he would survive, because we knew that he would come across the apple. So it was just come on, get this over with, find the apple. It just felt so pointless, all this in the past things.
Exactly. But if you want to do the past thing, then you really need to be more dedicated towards it. You need to separate it. You need to, okay, now we're back in the past, and we need to see him build some sort of relationship there. Otherwise, it's just some sort of level that he needs to get through in order to progress in the movie. And we don't really need to care about that sequence. I mean, I can go away and get some popcorn or pay my bills or whatever and wait for this to be over, because it doesn't really matter. For them, the movie is getting the apple and do something with the apple. And then what happens in the between, it didn't really matter. But the bad part is that it didn't really even matter when they got the apple, because the movie was already over, and it was like a small bit where they tried to get it back or whatever. Either way, if we're jumping to we have talked about a bit about the first part and the second part, so let's talk about the third part of the movie, which is basically when they're getting the apple and trying to proceed from there. But before we do that, let's talk about something I thought was very unlogic to begin with. There were other people at this facility who also was the same type of person that Cal was, a sort of descendant that they might be able to use in order to find the apple. But I'm guessing, based off the outcome, that they weren't able to find them. based on the other characters then. So they're just roaming free on the facility, like some sort of, I don't know, mental patients or something, just walking around and eating good food and being very, very weird. That's all they do. And I just thought, why do you even keep these people alive? I mean, the way that you got Cal was that people think that he died, in prison, and then you kidnapped him and whatnot, and now you're keeping him at a secret facility. If you don't need the other people, why not just kill them off? If you have the other people, you need to have guards to guard these people. And, it was just so dumb.
I think,
and also the guards didn't even have guns.
No, they just had tons.
Yeah, what the
Yeah, and it's not like they couldn't afford guns because, they have some very high quality stuff here, tech-wise.
Yeah, they kept all the assassin stuff that they had gathered, like all the bows and knives and whatever. And apparently they're really easy to get a hold of because everyone else can get them, like, whenever they want.
And apparently everything still works after all these years.
Yeah. That's good with ancient things. We don't usually need to put those things together with glue or something. They just come out like fully working.
But that's one thing they basically just use people until they get the information that they want, and then they are killed.
Yeah, because that makes so much sense. I mean, there's no one that knows that they even are alive. So if he acts like some sort of old school Nazi and just shoots someone in the head, nobody would care because no one knows that he's alive. It just creates this dumb next thing because, Cal managed to find the apple, of course. And so every Assassin's Creed that's in this facility.
But then in the end, he became an assassin anyway.
Yeah, and that's the problem with the middle part. Because if you want him to change his heart, or whatever you want to call it, something needs to happen there to turn him over to Assassin's Creed side. Because based on what we get to see in the movie, there's no reason for him to turn. There's only reason for him to find the apple and to get released as promised. That's everything that we know. There's nothing going on there in this middle part where he's in the past or whatever that makes us believe that he's going to turn out to be in one of the Assassin's Creeds later on. There's nothing, because there's no deaths in this movie. It's just shallow shit. Whatever. After he, for some reason, changed his heart and wants to bring back the apple because, free will is a good thing, he realizes, I guess. Everyone in the facility starts to, build a rise up against the guards and fight them and whatnot, and just, to get the apple back. Because that's more important than their lives. It's established early in the movie, so there's nothing weird about that. The weird part here is that they're even alive to do this. But if we ignore that, then yeah, sure. They managed to get off the building, right? I'm not sure here. Was the last part in the same building, or did they leave the house?
No, they left because they find out that his descendant or whatever, he gave the apple to Christopher Columbus.
Right. Everyone can steal that apple. And if someone has like the slightest idea of what this apple even is, then he can just pick it up and become like the master. I was hoping that maybe they had buried it in a pyramid or something. Something mere, I know, logic. And also, it's not mentioned in this movie, but Columbus was a dick. Just for you to know. He's not a hero, he's a dick. He's an idiot who sailed in the wrong direction, came to some offshore country, and and started to enslave people. And that's Columbus.
No, he just showed it. Hold this all-powerful Apple thing.
I thought this last part was so strange because it feels like up until now, like almost nothing has happened in the movie, and then suddenly too much is happening at once.
Yeah, they try to cram in the ending to 10 minutes. It's so strange. And the middle part and perhaps the ending should be like the bigger part, not how we find out who Cal is or that he's some sort of, I don't know, murderer. I didn't care about that. Yeah, so the movie kind of ends with Cal having a moment with Sophia. Sophia has also changed her heart, and she says that she doesn't really stand behind her father regarding the free will thing.
Then like 2 minutes later, she says, "Oh, I'm going to kill him myself."
Oh, right.
So we don't even know if she's good or bad.
Yeah, maybe that's why they wanted a sequel to this.
Ugh.
Yeah. I don't know. He kills Ricky, at least. Cal kills Ricky, and it's the most undramatic scene ever made. It's so anticlimactic. It's so anticlimactic, so I don't even know where to begin. It's not all at all. He just shows up and slits his throat.
And it's very annoying that, sure, this kind of assassination style would probably have been pretty effective around like year 1500. But this is the modern age where people have like guns and security cameras and alarm systems and everything. But no, he can still waltz in and use his goddamn knife to kill someone just like in the past.
And also, they have this almighty apple.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it turns out that apple isn't worth shit apparently.
Nope.
Yeah, so no one is. I don't even know if we get to see a gun in this movie at all. I mean,
I don't think so, actually.
No. But to be fair, if you had Apple, you wouldn't need any of that. So I don't know.
Yeah, look how that turned out.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of dumb things in this movie. I think we need to say something good about it. I feel so bad otherwise.
Why don't you go ahead? Because I don't know if I can.
Well, I think I think I like the idea. I think there's potential to the whole, going back in time to find some information that you need in the present. I get to see that it's pretty interesting in some way. So there is something around this that I can appreciate that they tried, but they really need to put more effort into making this interesting and not just some cool sci-fi thing or whatever.
I'm not even going to give them credit for that because that's something they stole from the games.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fighting scenes sometimes were good when it didn't do too much jumping around, with different cameras. The scenery is really cool. I mean, they choose a very good environment to record the past scenes, I think. Michael Fassbender does what he can with his character. I get nothing.
Yeah, no.
Okay, I can agree with you. The environments are actually pretty.
Yeah.
But they have so much smoke everywhere when they go in the past. I don't get that. It's like it's the cheap way of not showing how bad everything looks.
That's actually a good point. Usually when they do something like that, it's basically to cover up something, and I'm guessing what you're thinking of is basically the costumes or whatever, or the weapons or something. It's something. It's usually the same thing when you keep all the equipment and gear and clothes in black. It's because it's really harder to identify, the
Details.
The details. Yeah. So it might be on something there that they use the dust to cover up something. Which only makes the movie worse because you don't really get to see the characters as you want to. It's almost like that episode in Game of Thrones, where everything is pitch black. There are also cool stuff going on, but you can't really see it. The Long Night or whatever. Haven't you seen it?
No, I have, and
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. There are probably some Game of Thrones fans out there, or used to be at least.
Used to be before the last episode.
Yeah. Okay, so do you have anything else? Otherwise, I think we can just rate it.
Sure.
Oh, we can move on.
Yeah, let's move on. Or do you have any alternative titles, by the way, Ruben?
Oh, you want that now? Sure. It was kind of hard this time, actually, but whatever. I have Assassin's Fog instead, because everything's covered in fog. And we have How to Shit All Over Canon, basically. But that only makes sense if you actually know the canon from the games. So I guess that's what it is. And The Great Apple Chase.
Oh, yeah.
How do you like them apples?
Yeah, that's a good title as well.
Yeah, exactly. So. Well, okay. So now that we get to smile a little bit for the first time in a couple of hours. Let's rate it, and I can start. As I said, the biggest problem I have is that they try too much, and they kind of want it to go fast. I think. So I think the beginning should basically be that they find this guy in the prison, bring him in, and he have a dialogue or something with Sophia that his father killed his mother, and create some sort of depth in that character, and then put him into a machine, bring him to go and tell him what to do in the past, and he gets to develop there and bind his own connections, and not starting a life, but living the life that his ancestor did, and that made him into the assassin that he was. So that when he gets back later on in the movie, not that long, I think they should have shortened the middle part, but then when he comes back, he's a changed man, and he knows where the apple is, and uses that information and brings some sort of excitement into this movie, because there is zero. This movie is so boring. Sophia and Rickon can still have their drama of what is right and what is wrong, and the other characters that are just walking around in the facility, I think they can be there too. It doesn't make sense that they're there, but if they have to be, I think they can be there too, because then he might be able to relate to them after this middle part and be able to maybe even start the rise up towards the guards, because the assassins have been there all the time, but they haven't done anything. I mean, they could have fighting the guards before, but they didn't even do that. So maybe Fassbender could have been like their guy for that. So I just thought this movie was really boring and not interesting at all. And they can do a lot of good things, like with the scenery that we talked a little bit about, but it's not enough. I cannot even recommend this movie because I don't see a point. I can see a time of day or evening or night or whatever where it's a good time to see this movie, because in the day you can do so much good other stuff. In the evening you will fall asleep. So I'm going to give this a 3 out of 10.
Okay, should I go next?
Sure.
Okay, so we have seen worse movies in this podcast because it's it's a pretty movie. They have good actors and such because they had a big budget, but that's why I'm having it hard to forgive the fact that they had a big budget and it's still so bad. I really didn't like the fact that they jump like they do between the past and the present, because it just makes the past feel so pointless, and that's the majority of the movie. So, when they're finally done with dealing with the past, then it's like the end of the movie, so it's like 20 minutes left. So, kind of felt like the whole time I spent watching until then felt wasted. So yeah, based on that, I'm just going to give it a 2 out of 10.
So I guess I have a bit of a different perspective since I've played most of the games and stuff. So I have a bit more inside knowledge, I guess, before watching this movie. It's just like in the first, let's say, 5 games, they have a lot of like back and forth from the past and present day, but that was one of the biggest criticisms throughout the game. So they kind of scaled that back as they progress through the games. So like nowadays, like in the latest games, you basically maybe have 10 minutes at the start of the game, 10 minutes in the middle of the game, and 10 minutes in present time. The rest of the games are like back to whatever period they're jumping back to in that specific game. Because that's the interesting part, like doing parkour and assassinating people and stuff. So it felt like they went back too far with that in this movie, because it felt more like the first like 2-3 games, and the games are like 30 to 40 hours long, and this movie is barely 2 hours long, and they make it so boring, and they can't really dive deep into the story like they do in the games. So it feels pointless, as you say. It's not very interesting, and Fassbender's character is pretty unlikable and weird. I mean, let's just say one of the main characters in the Assassin's Creed games is a character like the main character in 4 of the games, and arguably the most popular in the series. And I can't for the life of me understand why they don't use that character and that base story to build on something that they're chasing this apple. Why make a whole new apple story that's rushed and doesn't make sense? It even takes place during the same time, like Ezio's games is from the late 1400s to the early 1500s. So it just doesn't make sense to me. And he's such a great character compared to this guy as well. So I don't know. This movie is just rushed, and they use way too much smoke and fog to cover up all the bad things, and it just ends abruptly. And like when you follow him with the robot arm, it's just weird too. I mean, I like the nods to the game that they do. I feel like this movie is more. It doesn't work well for the movie itself, so I get that. I still found some enjoyment in it because I enjoy the games, and I like the going back in time stuff. But this movie just didn't work that well, so I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10, I think.
There you have it. A movie that raises a lot of questions and makes you think in a bad way. But remember that you can contact us at bmso.contact@gmail.com, where you have your false or feedback and, of course, suggestions of bad movies. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.